Hello and welcome to The Real Global. I'm your anchor and here are the top stories. President Trump has backed down from his threat to impose tariffs on European nations in the furious row over his demand for control of Greenland. Trump announced he will cancel the 10% tariffs planned for February after reaching what he called a framework of a future deal on Arctic security with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. He insisted he still wants right title and ownership of Greenland but says he will not use military force. European leaders had warned they would retaliate with their own tariffs. Economists say the U-turn eases immediate fears of a transatlantic trade war, but tensions over Greenland remain high. Trump warned Europe that if they say no, the US will remember. A UK coroner has issued a formal warning about the use of unregulated doulas in home births after the death of a 15-day-old baby girl named Matilda. The baby died from hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, a brain injury caused by lack of oxygen during labor. The coroner said the presence of a doula negatively impacted midwives' ability to give advice and may have delayed the decision to transfer to hospital. The doula had no medical qualifications and was not registered with any professional body. The coroner will write to the health secretary urging regulation of the doula industry. Parents are being warned to check credentials before hiring birth support workers. The doula industry remains unregulated in the UK. A horror landslide has struck campsites in New Zealand with a young girl among several people missing. The landslide hit Mount Maunganui on the North Island during heavy rain. Emergency services are searching for at least 5 people, including a 7-year-old girl who was camping with her family. The landslide destroyed caravans and tents during the night. Rescue teams are using drones and dogs to find survivors. The area has been evacuated and police have declared a state of emergency. The landslide was triggered by torrential rain that fell for 48 hours. Weather forecasters warn more rain is expected. The missing girl's parents are distraught and waiting for news. This is the worst landslide in the region for a decade. ICE agents can now enter homes without a judge's warrant according to a new memo issued by the Department of Homeland Security. The policy change allows immigration officers to bypass judicial oversight when conducting raids. The memo says agents only need reasonable suspicion to enter private residences. Civil rights groups have condemned the move as unconstitutional and a violation of the Fourth Amendment. The American Civil Liberties Union is preparing legal challenges. The policy affects the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. ICE says the change is necessary to improve enforcement efficiency. Democratic lawmakers are calling for congressional hearings. The memo was issued quietly without public consultation. The policy expands Trump's deportation operations nationwide. The UK will ban social media for children under the age of 16 according to the Technology Secretary. The ban is almost certain to be implemented within the next year. The government says social media is harming children's mental health and exposing them to dangerous content. The ban would require age verification technology on all platforms. Meta and TikTok have opposed the measure, saying it violates user privacy. Parents' groups have welcomed the move. The UK would be the first country to implement such a comprehensive ban. The law is being drafted and will be introduced in Parliament next month. Enforcement would involve heavy fines for companies that fail to verify ages. Critics say the ban is difficult to enforce and may drive children to unregulated platforms. An Australian scientist has been charged with planning a firebomb attack on Australia Day in the wake of the Bondi horror massacre. The 34-year-old researcher was arrested after police raided his Melbourne home. He allegedly planned to target crowds celebrating the national holiday. The scientist had access to chemicals and explosives through his university laboratory. Police say he was radicalized online by extremist content. The arrest comes just days after the Bondi Beach attack that killed 15 people. The suspect will appear in court on terrorism charges. The government has increased security for Australia Day events nationwide. Prime Minister Albanese praised police for preventing a tragedy. The case has raised concerns about radicalization in the scientific community. An investigation has been launched into Donald Trump's Doonbeg golf resort in Ireland over alleged planning violations and environmental damage. Irish authorities are examining whether the resort expanded without proper permits. Local residents complain the development has damaged coastal dunes and wildlife habitats. The investigation follows complaints about illegal construction and water pollution. Trump bought the resort in 2014 and has invested millions in upgrades. The Irish Planning Board is reviewing the case. Environmental groups say the resort threatens a protected coastal area. Trump has clashed with Irish authorities before over wind farm proposals near the property. The investigation could result in fines or orders to remove illegal structures. Trump Organization says it has complied with all regulations. The U.S. has moved 150 Islamic State prisoners out of Syria with thousands more to follow as part of a major operation. The prisoners were transferred to a secure facility in Iraq. The Pentagon says the move is necessary because Syrian Kurdish forces can no longer guard the detainees. The operation involves special forces and military aircraft. The U.S. is planning to relocate up to 5,000 IS fighters in total. European countries are refusing to take back their citizens who joined IS. Human rights groups warn the transfers may violate international law. The Syrian Democratic Forces have been holding the prisoners since defeating IS in 2019. The U.S. is pressuring allies to accept responsibility for their nationals. The transfers are happening amid rising tensions in the region. Nigerian troops have rescued 62 hostages in a major crackdown on armed gangs in the northwest of the country. The army conducted simultaneous raids on multiple bandit camps in Zamfara state. The hostages included women and children who had been held for months. The operation killed 15 kidnappers and seized weapons and ammunition. The Nigerian military has been battling armed gangs who raid villages and schools for ransom. President Tinubu ordered the operation after public outcry over kidnappings. The rescued hostages are receiving medical care and counseling. The army says it will continue operations until all bandits are eliminated. The kidnapping crisis has displaced thousands of people. International observers praise the operation's success. Iran has reported 3,117 protest deaths and issued a new warning to the U.S. as demonstrations continue across the country. The figure is nearly 5 times higher than previous estimates. The government says the deaths include security forces killed by protesters. The Iranian Foreign Ministry warned the U.S. that any attack on Iranian sovereignty will face a decisive response. President Trump has threatened military strikes if Iran does not stop the crackdown. The UN says the death toll is likely higher than official figures. Human rights groups accuse Iran of crimes against humanity. The protests began in December over economic conditions. The Iranian currency has collapsed to record lows. International sanctions are adding to the crisis. Australia's Parliament House in Canberra was urgently evacuated after a security threat. Police ordered everyone to leave the building and not enter. The threat came in a phone call claiming a bomb was inside. Security forces conducted a sweep of the building. The all-clear was given after 2 hours. The incident disrupted parliamentary proceedings. Prime Minister Albanese was moved to a secure location. Opposition leader Peter Dutton praised the security response. The threat occurred during a heated debate over gun control laws. Police are investigating the source of the threat. Parliament has increased security since the Bondi Beach attack. The incident highlights rising political tensions in Australia. No bomb was found. NASA astronaut Suni Williams has retired from the agency after 27 years of service. Her retirement became effective on December 27, 2025. Williams completed 3 missions aboard the International Space Station, spending a record 608 days in space. She was selected as a NASA astronaut in 1998 and made her first spaceflight in 2006. Williams was part of the troubled Boeing Starliner mission that kept her in space for 286 days. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman praised her as a trailblazer in human spaceflight. Williams said it has been an incredible honor to serve as a NASA astronaut. Her work has paved the way for Artemis missions to the Moon and Mars. She is one of the most experienced female astronauts in history. Britain is at risk of attack from returning Islamic State militants as the conflict in Syria winds down. UK security services are tracking up to 400 British citizens who fought with IS and have returned home. MI5 says the threat level remains severe. The government has stripped citizenship from dozens of IS fighters to prevent their return. However, many have slipped back into Britain undetected. The Telegraph reports that prison services are struggling to de-radicalize convicted terrorists. Europol warns that returning fighters have the skills to carry out sophisticated attacks. The Manchester Arena bombing was carried out by a returning extremist. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has ordered a review of counterterrorism strategies. The risk is expected to increase as more prisoners are released. Gunmen have stormed a football pitch in Ecuador and shot 3 players dead in a horror attack. The shooting occurred at the Mockley Golf Club residential area in Samborondon during a match. Surveillance footage shows several men playing football when assailants rushed onto the field and opened fire. The victims were identified as Jefferson Xavier Salon Olivero, aged 33, Jajuina Verg, 29, and Stalinando Oliver Vargas, 40. All three had prior criminal histories linked to drug trafficking and homicide. The attack is believed to be related to organized crime conflicts. Interior Minister John Riemberg said the shooting was linked to gang rivalries. The Lagartos gang is fighting Los Lobos for control of the region. Police have confirmed no suspects have been apprehended. The investigation is ongoing. A massive solar flare has caused the northern lights to appear across the world in a spectacular display. The X-class flare erupted from the sun on January 18, releasing energy equivalent to 1 billion atomic bombs. The coronal mass ejection triggered auroras visible as far south as Florida and northern India. NASA released footage of the flare from its Solar Dynamics Observatory. The European Space Agency says the eruption had the energy of 100 nuclear bombs. The auroras were seen in unusual locations, including the Caribbean and Mediterranean. The solar storm also caused minor disruptions to GPS and radio communications. Scientists say the sun is at peak activity in its 11-year cycle. More solar flares are expected in coming weeks. The event was one of the strongest auroras in 500 years, according to researchers. That concludes our news for today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow with the updates from around the globe.